Like, if you want to start it, like, I'm just saying, like, I'm
it's
throwing
already
it
been
out there
started.
now. Okay, whatever. 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody.
And go.
And go.
Yeah, do you want to do introductions?
Yeah, okay. So this is episode 2 of Pretty Much Experts. I'm RJ Patterson, live from the Czech Republic. It's my brother Mike, my brother Skylar. Last week, episode 1, barely any controversy. And
more than I expected. More than I expected,
not
though.
that bad, though.
No, it was, yeah, whatever.
Whatever.
Honestly, behind the scenes, though, like, speaking with people in my personal life that enjoy the Tragically Hip and trying to explain to them, you know, what it was about, or even just, like, our stance on it.
Yeah.
Like, you get 5 seconds of that conversation, and it's just stone cold.
I feel like my feedback was about 50-50 between, like, private messages of people are like, yo, dude, like, that band blows, you're right. And then, like, on the other hand, like, it's actually really well, like, you have to listen to the deeper cuts and you'll appreciate it on another level. Okay, I'll admit I've never gone deep. But,
no. To the marrow.
I was going to say, I think the main problem was last week, the first 45 minutes got lost. And I think in the first 45 minutes, we were actually talking about it a little bit more and a little bit more, like, eloquent and like, oh, this is why I don't like them. This is why I think this. This is, you know, my perception. Because I fucked it up. We lost all that and then started, like, you know, 3, 2, 1, and we're, like, sprinting and just back into, like, the banter. Like, George,
no, it wasn't,
Gordy, whatever his name is, can suck one.
Maybe we'll do a part 2 later on in
maybe
life.
We'll revisit it next summer.
Like, oh, fuck it.
2 years removed, see if it makes a difference.
Yeah, when the anniversary of that concert comes up and everyone's fucking gung-ho about it again.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll do a year 2? I don't
know.
Well, maybe like a year 10.
Maybe.
And we'll definitely still be doing this by then.
We'll still alive by then.
I felt like there was a weird, like, on the internet, I got a couple of, like, weird, like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And then, like, when I actually, like, talked to people face to face, like, afterwards, like, a couple of my friends, they were all just like, dude, like, you said what nobody else would say. And it's like, oh, okay, I'll take both. Take it with the bad, right?
Yep, sure.
But I guess with that said, I guess let's get it into week 2. Like,
Week 2.
Less controversial.
Before we get into week 2, I wanted to take a moment and acknowledge the passing of the great Jim Neidhart. And I was hoping we could just say a few words about the great one.
I'll start.
Yeah. You kind of look like him.
Do I? Because I have no idea who the fuck he is. And I just want to say, right on, thank you for that thing you did, and you'll be missed by at least 2 people. These 2.
Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers.
I know how the Tragically Hip fans feel right now.
Yeah. Wow, yeah. Did we do this to people last week?
This is what that feels like?
Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't much of a Jim fan. I always thought, like, he was a dick, but that was just because I was a Brett fan. I actually, at my Tim Barry show, I bought this shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm rocking the Tim Barry too.
Wow.
Oh, look at us. Twins.
Yeah.
Fucking tip to tip.
But I met a dude last week at a show, and he was wearing, like, fucking Bret the Hitman Hart shirt, and I was just like, that's a cool dude right there. I'm going to go talk to him. And I went over and talked to him, and I was like, Bouncing Souls are awesome. And he's like, yeah, they're great, but I'm actually here to see Tim Barry. And it was just like, take your dick out. Let's do it.
Sucked him off right there.
Oh, I was like with my mind.
Yeah, sucked him in your mind. He probably felt it.
Yeah. Oh, you know he did. But yeah, I don't know. That sucks. Wasn't murder, but...
No, but apparently Alzheimer's related, and he's like 60-something. I don't know much about Alzheimer's, but that seems really young.
That's young, yeah.
That's really young for that, I think. I don't know. I'm not an expert in Alzheimer's. Maybe by like episode 9 or 10, one of us can be an Alzheimer's
mostly
expert.
Yeah,
well, my nan's dealing with it for like.
But she's
in some
old
form.
though.
She's just turned 7. Oh yeah, I guess she's like 75.
Yeah. Oh, she's been kind of like goofy for a while, though.
Dude, my whole life.
Okay.
My whole life. Like, if you, in hindsight, if you look back, like, there was definitely some signs of her losing her mind, you know? It wasn't just forgetfulness and getting lost, which came in the later days. It was just, getting lost in repetition more so on a day-to-day, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
like, never really deviating from the repetition because that was comfortable. And I actually think a lot of the reason why it kind of it hit her super hard in her late 60s was, you know, she had spent so many years living alone.
Okay.
And in her own routine, not really stimulated by anything. Like, her Sudokus and crosswords are only going to do so much, right?
Not enough.
Like, she didn't have much of a social life outside of her sisters. So I think, like, that, she wasn't challenging her brain, you know?
Yeah.
It's true.
And I think
it's very
that
true.
might have something to do with it.
Yeah,
We're human beings and we are social creatures, and without that stimulation, the social stimulation, like, you lose it quicker. You see it with fucking prisoners that are like commit murder and go to solitary confinement, you know, or people that are just like, hey, I'm gonna go live out in the middle of nowhere forever and not talk to people. It's like, you definitely lose a part of it, and I can only imagine
everyone that I've ever met that's been a little bit of a loner is like a little bit of a weirdo. And I say that like kind of concerned because that's who I am for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I prefer to be alone. I just put down, I guess it's a deposit. I don't know. I'm renting an apartment next month.
Ooh.
And totally, like, I don't even know the name of the city. Like, I just like, I want to live in this country, and I just like sent a deposit and bought a plane ticket. It's like, I don't know.
Where's that?
Montenegro.
Oh, yeah.
Where?
That's more than I know.
Yeah, that's is that in Africa?
No, it's like near Albania.
Where the fuck's Albania?
Exactly.
Europe?
Yeah, it's like kind of like
okay.
It's like Eastern Europe, like in the Balkan-ish, like near Sarajevo.
On one of the seas, probably.
Yeah, it's on the sea. I want to go back to the beach. I've been too far away. I never grew up like with a beach. I've never been a beach kid. But then like living in Italy and Spain the last few months, it's like beaches are fucking sick. You know, to just go down for an hour or so a day. And when I was in Spain, I was going down at night a lot, like just chilling on the beach at night and like having a little fire, playing a guitar. It's like, this is life.
Relaxing, yeah.
I need that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to go live alone in some country that I only heard of about a month ago. I don't even know the name of the city or the town. Like, I know where the airport is, and I got to take a train to like where this apartment is, and it was like $400 for an entire apartment on the beach. I'm like, down.
Oh.
Yeah. Doing it. But it's like, am I going to be crazy one day? Because like, I love living alone. Like,
One day, yeah. Excuse me?
All of my like 20s have been lived with, you know, 1 billion roommates. Like, I couldn't even count. I was trying to think the other day, I'm like, how many roommates have I had in my life? I literally am in over 100.
Wow.
You know, like every house I've lived in was like a minimum of 6, and every 6 months there's people coming in and out.
Yeah, true.
It's been like billions. So I'm like, now I'm like at this like year of like, I'm going to live alone. And it's like, this is way better. So I'm like, I'm thinking like, where am I going to be, you know, in my 60s or younger? Am I going to be that kooky, weird person?
Likely, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like I say, like you're already there, bro.
I don't know.
But like, I've had like two roommates. I got Lisa and then like Lucy, you know? So.
Do they both know about each other?
One knows about the other.
Jealousy. When I was in Portugal, like months ago, I met this like Australian lady. She was in her like 60s, and like the first time I met her, like I was with my friend and we like walked down past her house, and she had all these dogs in the front yard, and we're like, oh, let's go hang out with those dogs. So we go over and we talk to her, and she's really nice, and she's like, oh yeah, I've lived in like 70 countries and blah blah blah. I'm like, lifelong traveler. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I'm just starting that journey. And we like talked for like an hour, and then like 3 days later we ran into her in a bar, and she's just like on the bar crying her eyes out, and we're like, I don't remember her name. Call her Janice. Like, Janice, what's wrong? Okay. She's like, it's my birthday and I have no friends or family. And we're like, oh, I guess that's the downside to being a lifelong traveler.
Vagabond,
now like 65 or something. And you're like, yeah, it's cool to just country bop around and whatever. I just live in, rural Portugal and I have a bunch of dogs until it's your 65th birthday and no one is there.
You hit a threshold kind of thing, right?
Yeah, you gotta grow roots.
Look back and you're like, you got no roots.
You got no roots, bro.
Loose leaves blowing in the wind.
So you're talking about beaches, like we don't have your classic beach here. Like we're not on the sea, or we're not on.
You're on the sea,
but we have like, well, I'm not. It's close.
It's a Pacific Ocean.
It's 50 kilometers as a crow flies, but it takes 4 hours to get there by car.
Oh, okay.
12 by train, but we do have beaches here.
Is it train and park? Why is a car so much faster than a train?
It's just the way the railroad works,
to defeat the purpose of the train.
Yeah, the rails.
Yeah, you got to stop, let other trains pass. Do some work. Take some time. Yeah.
Not that you work on the rails at all.
God,
no, I don't actually. No.
Not just heard it.
Don't get that rumor
just
started.
What you heard.
Actually, so kind of to tie into our this week's topic of murder. I don't know if you guys know. I'm sure a lot of people out there don't, if there's someone listening. But I live kind of smack in the middle of the Highway of Tears in British Columbia, on Highway 16. And just recently, there was a woman that went missing about a little over a month ago. And she was found by a railway worker on the Skeena River. Some distance from where they found her truck.
Wow.
They don't know the cause of death or anything, but that kind of ties in. I was going to talk about the Highway of Tears, so I might as well.
What is the Highway of Tears? I've never heard of the Highway of Tears.
What?
So
never
really
never
come up.
I've never heard of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Highway
we got an
16
expert in the group, so
yeah,
lucky
mostly. Pretty much
an expert.
Yeah.
Lay it down.
Yeah.
Bro.
So from the stretch of Prince George to Prince Rupert, which is 700 kilometers or something. There's been a lot of missing and presumed and found murdered women, mostly women, from the 1960s to pretty much now. I think the last one I know about's like 2010, 2011. There's still signage up in regards to that. She's still missing. No real leads or anything as of yet, but I think her name was Madison Maddy. I want to say Maddy, and she's the latest, I believe, other than this woman this year. Well, again, like kind of, it's weird. Like the RCMP says that they can only attribute 18 of the missing and murdered women over the last 50 years as part of the Highway of Tears murders, because it has to fall into a certain category. It's like they must be a woman for some reason. Men don't qualify. I don't know if there's any men missing or murdered. I'm sure it's happened, but it's not part of the criteria that makes you a statistic with the Highway of Tears missing and murdered women. But you have to be a woman, and you have to be found or taken or something within a mile of the highway. There's like this weird criteria that the RCMP considers. So like there's actually 50 people that have gone missing and have been murdered or presumed murdered, but they only consider 18 of those or 20 of those actually a part of the Highway of Tears.
Right.
Which is kind of strange. I don't really understand that. But as far as that, the one I know a little bit about, 2010-11, Maddy, I guess she went missing off a lake up here in a town called Vanderhoof, or just outside a town called Vanderhoof. And I don't really know much about that, but there was one suspect who was cleared. He wasn't affiliated with the murder or her disappearance, but they found him like within a matter of a couple weeks of this whole thing going down. Actually, they just found his severed head.
Wow.
In a cabin somewhere. That's the story that I heard. Again, it's a little bit of hearsay, but they still haven't found his body. They found this guy that was kind of, being questioned and assumed, responsible for something. He was cleared, but at the time, I'm not sure as far as if he disappeared before he was cleared or what.
Right.
But they only found his head, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
But there's murders all the way from the 60s, or missing women, mostly Indigenous women, First Nations women from the 60s until now, that have been, consistently going missing on this stretch of highway.
Yeah.
And there's signage, don't hitchhike, women don't hitchhike alone, whatever the case.
Don't go missing.
I mean, don't go missing if you can help it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and like a lot of people.
It's like one person, or do they think like?
No.
Like,
so interesting enough.
Maybe it could be.
Maybe at one point it was, because there's like theory that this one guy was responsible for some of them, but he actually died in prison, and they tied it to some of the people were affiliated with him. They don't know for sure if he was responsible for any of it, but he was kind of like affiliated with some of these women who had gone missing, but they found out after his death, so they can't really get much out of that. I think they tied one murder to him, and then only one person has been convicted, as far as I know, in regards to the 18 that the RCMP consider, the Highway of Tears, like murder.
Right.
Murder. There's been another guy, I think, convicted of something, murder related. He's been convicted of a few, a younger guy, I believe out of Prince George, but they don't fall under that classification.
Yeah.
For that statistic or whatever.
That's fucked. Because you don't know. Maybe whoever was doing it decided one day while they're driving there, they just picked somebody up on the way instead of driving all the way to the said highway. But it's like, oh, that doesn't count.
I can see it like maybe it's just easier to investigate if you can like break it into smaller things. But at the same time, I feel like you're missing. If it's like, oh, this one body was like 15 kilometers west, like we'll worry about that one later. But like maybe that's the one that is the
ties it all together.
Yeah, maybe that's
right?
the needle in the haystack that you really have to look at. But because that one, no, that one's not quite what we're looking for. Let's focus on these 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, so like, as getting back to like, is it one person? Like, it might have been for a chunk of that time frame, but not since the 60s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although there is that guy, we can come back to it, that Wayne Edwards guy, that there's theories that he was a Zodiac killer. So that spans from the 50s to the 2000s.
You're obsessed with Zodiac killer.
You are
like, I a little bit.
Like fucking, what are you pussyfooting around, bro? What's the big deal with the Zodiac killer?
I want to talk about something first, and then it actually does link up to Zodiac, and it might just wrap this whole thing up. Everything links back to the Zodiac. I wanted to talk about the Golden State Killer, who recently was just charged, I think as of today, with a bunch of murders. And for you guys that are out of the loop on the Golden State Killer, why this one is so interesting.
Golden State Warriors?
No.
Nothing to do with the Warriors.
He was caught through like one of those genealogy friggin' websites. Like,
totally.
The old like people that have nothing interesting going on in Ancestry.com type. I have nothing interesting in my life, so I'm gonna send my goddamn DNA in the mail to this company.
Come on,
don't they'll tell me if I'm related to Abraham Lincoln or if I have like 15% Chinese or something. I'm special. Look at me. All these,
those saps.
Granola.
Yeah, we know the people that use the website.
We know who these people are. Just straight granola, nothing going on. They sending out their DNA, and they've been doing this for like 10 years, and without, I guess, the world knowing, these DNA websites have been making this entire like United States of America like genome. Like they have everybody's friggin' DNA and family tree in a database. So about 2 months ago, the police in California like subpoenaed them, got the DNA so let's back this up to the Golden State Killer. Let's back this up. So this started also in like the 1960s. And he was originally just called the East Side Rapist or something like that. And he's this dude that would like break into houses at night, give a rape, and
or two,
like very like everyone knew it was the same guy. Like he came in wearing like gloves, balaclava, tied them up, did the rape. He was like really famous for he would make himself breakfast and stuff after the rape. Like he just made himself at home. Like he was not afraid about getting caught.
Why does that make it extra weird? That makes it extra weird.
Because everyone else is like, got to get in, get out, not leave a fingerprint behind. This fucking guy just strolls around the house like he owns it. He's making eggs.
Cooks some eggs up,
like leaving this poor woman like tied up. And she's just like listening to him like fucking got the radio on. He's making some eggs. He's having himself like he was comfortable. And that was really scary. Jeez. And, you know, like 20 rapes in, they do this like town meeting, you know, like lock your doors, lock your kids, like no one is safe.
Hide your wife.
Hide your wife. And exactly that actually happened. So this guy at the town meeting stands up and he's like, this is only happening to like unmarried women. Like this is like a call for like domestic life is the right life. Like if there's a strong man at home with a gun, this will never happen. And
they
guess what happened?
Hitch their horse to that wagon, eh?
That night, the killer rapist guy went to that guy's fucking house, woke him up, and raped his wife. Just to say, fuck you. Like, no.
What?
This is not...
Wow.
Yeah, just spit on him. And that's when he developed this, like, really creepy thing he would do, that going forward, he did it every time, because he's just, like, escalating. So when he raped this guy's wife, before he did that, he like ties the dude up, puts him face down, and stacks like a bunch of dishes on his back. And is like, okay, I'm going to rape your wife, and if I hear those dishes jingle, I'm killing both of you. Like you have to lay there silently without moving and do not jiggle those dishes.
What?
And then and he rapes the dude's wife. He's fucked.
That's his calling card now?
Yeah, that's his calling card. Dishes. Starting now, leaves dishes on the partner and does the rape. So then he goes on to like rape 50 or so odd people. And then what the police think happened, because he just killed these two random people that were like walking on the street, was they think he was like looking in a window and like two people on the street saw him. And then he panicked and he like pulled his gun out and he killed just two people walking down the road. And then from then on, I think he did maybe like 15 more rapes. And every time he did a rape, then he killed everybody. Like there can't be any witnesses. And then he kind of went quiet in the 1980s. There was like 20 years of like around LA, Sacramento, San Francisco area, like up and down California. Kind of went quiet. And then just like a month ago, the cops put the DNA into this big web of Ancestry.com. They found like a second cousin or something. They're like, oh, the DNA is close enough that it's like a blood relative to this friggin' guy. They trace it all back, and they're like, oh, it's this guy. Like all through the internet. Like it's this guy, just by doing math and all that DNA stuff. And then they like stake the guy out, do some research. They find out he's an ex-cop that was in like the burglary task force. And that's like why he was likely so unafraid to get caught. Like he's just like, I'm a fucking cop. Like I know what I'm doing. He's a burglary task force guy, so like he knows how to break into houses, like total inside job deal.
And
craziness.
Well, I've heard theories about like cops being affiliated with other murders too, and it's like, that's a good point. No matter what, like at very least you like know where the patrol is gonna be, right? Yeah, potentially. Like you have just that inside. You have the dog in the race. Dog in the race. You have the inside scoop. Yeah. Yeah,
but just the like.
Fucking wild.
It's wild. It's like this is really cool that serial killers that are like the Zodiac that have not ever been caught, like the days are numbered because they have Zodiac's DNA, and it's just like you gotta like put together like $2,000 or something to do a DNA test and submit it. Like, so it's like, okay, that's really cool. Like you're never gonna get away with murder now because everyone's family tree exists in this database. Because before that, it was like only felons had to like forcibly give up their DNA for the like CODIS database. But now it's literally everybody without even your consent. It was like your friggin'
willingly.
jack-off cousin submits to a DNA website because he's bored, and now your entire family tree is like in some archive somewhere. So it's like a weird, like, your crime days are compromised. Yeah, it's like a weird invasion of privacy, but like, I guess if they're catching serial killers, it's cool. But like, where's the like line of
we don't know yet.
How often are they going to go check this goddamn DNA lab for like? Is like the world going to be 1984 like Orson Welles style? Like, as soon as you commit a crime, freaking you get a notification on your phone like, your DNA was left behind at.
Have you guys ever seen the movie fucking Gattaca with Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman? So. That's where the world's going. Like, we got trace DNA. Like, any motherfucker that committed a murder before like 1990 and got caught for it is a fucking idiot. Yeah. Like, you had free go at just killing whoever the fuck you wanted. And like not given a hootenanny,
right?
And you could even jack off, right? You could still jack off. You could lick things. Yeah, well, you could like leave your hair.
Now we got trace DNA that like if you touch somebody, you're fucked. Like if you breathe on somebody, they know that you've encountered that person. Like it's so crazy where it's going. Where like if you've seen that movie Gattaca, it's straight up like, oh, there was a murderer in this room. We're just gonna suck the entire room dry with a vacuum cleaner, and whoever's DNA is in this room that shouldn't be in this room is probably the killer. Yeah. Like it's so fucking wild that, like I say, like anyone back in the day that if you did something and then you got caught because it was like, oh, your footprint, or like you're an idiot.
Your dad used to have that funny theory: we get all stoned and he'd try and scare us, and he had that theory that the what is it, air miles theory, where they were tracking our every move and they could see where we shopped and see where we were traveling. And I remember one time being like, oh, this little thing, and he ripped the card out of my hand and threw it across your lawn and yelled something in the something like, get out of my house or something.
He wasn't wrong.
No,
he's not wrong. Like, absolutely
not.
If for nothing else, for marketing, right?
No. Yeah,
it's like the same reason you see those ads on Google, or you see your ads on Facebook. You Google one thing about, let's say you want to go traveling, right? Like you're going to wherever you're going, Montenegro Bay or whatever you said, like you're going this place, and then you go on your Facebook and it's like, oh, travel discounts for this place and travel, it's all, they're just tailoring, products.
Fucking assholes. Sons of bitches. I got a weird story. It kind of deals with murder, and it's actually very topical. So I was
this week's episode.
Like murder. It's got some murder. Sir John A. McDonald. You heard of him?
Oh, I heard of him.
Might have heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, once or twice.
Yeah, back in 10th grade.
Father of Confederacy.
Before you start your John A. story, I just wanted to chime in. I remember the first time I went to Guelph, the city you live in. Right by the bus station, there's like a crappy fucking hotel. I don't know what it's called.
Be more specific.
It was right beside the bus station. And they had like a plaque on the wall that said like John A. McDonald stayed in this room, like underneath of a window. There's like a window that faced the train station. Underneath it was like this big plaque. And then over the course of years of going there, like they just kept renovating the hotel and that plaque is gone. It's like, no one knows who that is.
He didn't
take that plaque down. No one gives a shit.
Okay, so but here's my story, all right? I heard this today and I thought it was kind of fucked up. I was at a work function. We went out to a breakfast, and one of the people at the work function was talking about how last night they were at a city council meeting for Orangeville, the city of Orangeville, town of Orangeville, Ontario, right? Just thought they'd like sit in and see how it was going, right? Mm-hmm. And they talked about how recently in Victoria, BC, that's where Mike is kind of close to from.
Not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close. We got friends 18 hours away.
It's about as close as I am to Orangeville.
We got some friends.
Yeah, pretty much.
Shout outs to Victoria. We got friends there.
But so in Victoria, they recently tore down a statue of Sir John A. McDonald because of his he was in on all those residential schools. right?
Was it
probably his
affiliation with
idea.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, he was like very much just like didn't like Native people and didn't give a fuck and wasn't as inclusive as we are today in Canada. Not that we are.
Maybe that's why the hotel room took the name down in Guelph. They're a pretty progressive city.
This is very, very much so. Like, yeah,
might be some
we
controversy.
We got the Green Party here.
Yeah.
But so, anyways, like, so they recently took the statue down, and they kind of were saying like, hey, like, yeah, we're just gonna put it aside. We don't know what we're gonna do with it yet, but like, we're not gonna totally trash it. We don't want it up in our city anymore. Which is like fucking A, man. Like, if that guy if he did what they said he did, fuck that. Like, Bill Cosby made me laugh.
Not anymore.
Careful.
But he's also a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
But so either way, at this Orangeville town meeting last night, apparently it came up. They put it up to vote, or they didn't get to the voting aspect, but they brought up that they were like, we should take that statue and put it up in Orangeville.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're proud.
What are they so proud about? What's going on with that?
I don't know. Like, it's Father Confederacy. You know, like, so, like, they were just, like, stoked, like, no, like, we can't take down this statue. We got to keep it up. We got to, like, it's our history. But it's like, man, like, that's literally someone else's garbage at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Especially after someone is throwing the statue out. Like, I think it would be different if it was, like, Orangeville City Council, and like, yo, we got some statue money. Who y'all thinking? And then, like, let's have a vote. What about John A? And it's like, yeah, we'll vote on it. But when it's literally like, okay, there's this other city that is taking the statue down because he is the forefather of, you know, the cultural genocide of the First Nations people of Canada, and they don't know what they'll do with it. And we're like, fuck it, we got room.
Yeah, we got a park. Yeah,
throw that on a canoe and send her down the river, bye.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Just it's like I feel like you see it in the States right now where they're chopping down a lot of their Confederate statues, and there are still towns that are just like, if you're cutting it down, we'll take it, buddy. You know, like, and it's like, you're no better than that, fucking Orangeville. Get your shit together. I hope anybody that's listening to this right now that lives in Orangeville, like, don't be a fucking dick. Go and, like, apparently there was a couple First Nations people, like, they did their little debate, and before it could go to the vote, there was like 2 First Nations people that went up and were just kind of just like what the fuck?
Oh,
yeah, like, not happening.
No.
Like,
are
you kidding me? Right? Like, don't, no. And then they were just like, well, there's more dialogue. We'll put it to rest for now, but it'll bring it up later. And it's just like, what? I don't know.
Like, who's
put a
really
Wendell Clark
pro?
statue up.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, there's plenty of people that can be honored. That
fucking Sidney Crosby
do these heinous things, right?
Yeah.
But like, I wonder who in that crowd was super like pro John A. McDonald, you know?
Oh, it's all fucking just shitty white people, you know,
or just
old
like
white
antiquers. They're just like, oh, here's this old statue. Let's get it for free or something. I don't know. Like, why would I mean, the context of this statue's coming down because of its racist implication, and this other place is like, we'll take it.
It's fucking weird.
No.
Town Square seems like a good spot.
Yeah. Orangeville is definitely predominantly white, old, rich people.
Like, this whole area is very old, rich, white, and they're all shitty.
They have a skate park there.
Yeah, I went to court there once.
And that's where I went for my like driving test, because the word on the street was it was really easy to pass.
Totally, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's where you went.
Yeah. Just like, did not care.
No kidding. I heard the driving instructor had glaucoma. That was the rumor that was going around. It's like, I don't know how that's gonna make my time any easier, but sure, Orangeville it is.
Can't see shit, but
I went to court in Orangeville once.
Okay.
That's
driving related or?
No, it's that time we got arrested at the fall fair.
Oh, you had to go to Orangeville for that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, sat there all fucking day. Just for them to be like, probation.
Probation.
I remember that night when you guys all got arrested. Maybe this episode will just be titled "Crime" and not "Murder."
Yeah. Okay.
You've been into pretty murder there.
You guys all got arrested, and I remember me and my girlfriend at the time walked to the police station to like. We have no money or anything, but we're like, I guess we'll like check on him. Yeah, and we like went to the Georgetown police station,
up for collateral.
Like knocking on the window, like, "Hey, let us in." And our friends and the guy, like the reception guy, looked like he had been sleeping. And we're like, "What the hell?" And we like go in and we're like, "Yo, our friends all just got arrested. Like, what can we do to like, contact their parents? Like, we're like young at the time."
Yeah, we were young.
Yeah. What can we do
16,
to like
17.
Whatever. This is like, I don't know if everyone had cell phones back then. Like, it was mid 2000s. Yeah. And the guy had no idea what we were talking about. And we're just like, okay, use that gigantic walkie-talkie on your chest, a radio. Perhaps you heard of a riot that just happened in this small town of like 30,000 people. A full riot happened. My friend got tased in the neck. I saw like
twice.
This guy's tackled and getting tased in the neck by the cops. Like, how have you not known what's going on? This guy was so friggin' useless. And then he gave us a phone number to call, and it was like the Milton police number. It was like, so like the Georgetown police like isn't even handling the riot that's happening in Georgetown.
In their town.
This neighboring town is like come over and taking over. Like, not anymore. You're not like taking over jurisdiction. So we had to like call the Milton police and we're like, yeah, what can we do about this? And they're like, yeah, don't worry about it. Like, we'll get a hold of their parents. Like, we don't need more of their shitty friends to be friends to be involved.
Yeah.
They didn't. No, the next day we had to like drive to Milton and pick up Curtis. I don't remember if we got you also, but
no, me and my mom picked Kurt up.
Okay.
Yeah, or my mom came in.
All that.
My mom came in. So they let me out, and I was like, yeah, my buddy's still in there, and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna hold him for a little bit. I was like, well, he's my ride, is what I said. Well, he's my ride, so I'm just kind of hanging out now, unless you get him the fuck out. Like, and Kurt did like literally nothing. Like, he wasn't supposed to be in that paddy wagon. He wasn't supposed to be in that jail cell, right? And they finally like huffed and puffed, let him out. I called my mom. She was pissed because it's like 5 a.m. on a work day, right? So she comes out and gets us, and I believe she gave me, like, I never used to smoke in front of her, right? Like, I think we were still pretty, like, 16, 17. But I remember her giving me a cigarette, and I was like, oh, I guess I can smoke this in the van. Okay, right on. And then she's asking us about it. And at the end, she's like, she's like, Mike, this is your one get-out-of-jail-free card. Because if I have to come pick you up from prison again, I'm going to beat you up worse than the fucking cops did. And that was enough,
Yeah.
Mama knows. Yeah.
Is that enough, though?
Well, never got more than a drunk tank after that, so.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I'm too old to run from the cops now, so I just don't do anything illegal. Like, that's...
Yeah. It's not worth it.
That's fair.
Not worth it. That's what it comes down to. Yeah, that was a wild night. That was definitely
I remember the next night we all went under the bridge and, like, heard the story of... I'll start it, and you fill me in on the parts I'm missing. I don't remember people's names. This was at least 15 years ago.
I remember one. Yeah, I remember one. Before we get into the story from the start, one guy definitely shit all over the jail cell.
That's the story I'm going to tell.
Yeah, okay,
so
you go.
There's like, I'm going to say 8 of you in the back of this van. One guy had like snuck a Mickey into the van with him. The cops didn't pat him down very well, so everyone just passing this like Mickey of like Crown Royal around. So everyone's getting even more
the one guy did this, kind of got it out of his pocket, and then he put it in someone else's lap, and then someone else came over and like bit the cap off it, and then we were doing fucking swigs out of each other's laps.
So
and then when we
it's like a half-hour ride to the prison. Everyone's completely fucked up. Taking everyone out of the van one at a time, process into the cell, and by the time the last guy is in the cell, the first guy that went into the cell shit his pants and wiped it all over the wall.
That is true.
Had to take everyone out of the cell one at a time back into the van.
That is true. Oh, we all got put in this little detaining room, and we all had to like. They didn't have enough cuffs or zip ties or something at that point. Like, they had used up their stash, I guess. And they just had us all stand against the wall for, like, I don't know, like 45 minutes or something ridiculous. And I remember like almost passing out. And it reminded me of like the time we got caught smoking weed at school in grade 9, and the cops made us stand against the wall to check everybody. And I was so stoned, and I had my hands above my head, and I just started seeing like that right before you faint, that everything goes bright and colorful, and I just like flopped down on the ground, and I'm in the cop station like, oh fuck, that's gonna happen again.
Yeah,
like, that's happening right now. But I held it together. I didn't want to get
all
shot.
Over the place. I can't risk a fall down
everywhere. And it just reeked for the rest of the night. Like, they didn't do a good job of cleaning up. They just hosed it down, and that was it, right? You know? Shit water everywhere still.
So the next night I was, like, hanging out with that guy and getting the story from... Oh, that guy was nuts.
Yeah. They were pulling everyone out of the paddy wagon to, like, one at a time or two at a time to kind of, like, you know, get everybody booked in. And I can't remember who it was, but it's probably that guy. I think his name was Matthias or something.
We don't need to go into names.
With a mohawk. Yeah, anyways. I don't think that was his name either.
It was close.
That's for sure.
Yeah, but he ended up, like, he was, like, one of the last people out. I was still in there, I think. I must have been, because he fucking kicked the Mickey out while he was getting out, and just, like, against the cop's chest or face or something. It was right at that level, just bopped it right into the cop, and it was just like, oh, fuck. Like, we needed more fucking reason to get punched in the face by these guys.
That wasn't us.
Yeah, it wasn't us. It was already there.
It was already in here.
Mm-hmm.
It was empty the whole time.
And they were just fucking mad dogging us the whole ride, too, like, talking shit. You know, oh, you guys, oh, you boys, you done it now. This is the end of the line for you. Like, mad dogging us the whole fucking ride.
Ugh. The worst.
And we were laughing, having a good time. Like, at that point, it was like, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? We're already in the worst spot we could possibly be. So let's have fun.
It was a good time. I wasn't arrested, but, like, I remember walking out with, like, the cops, like, you know, they had their, like, friggin' ride guns or whatever in your back, like, leading us out. And I just thought it was the funnest thing ever. And I remember one of the guys that, like, was arrested with you got, like, tackled, and they're like, stop resisting. And he's like, I'm not resisting. And they're just, like, punching him. Like, these cops just beat the crap out of this kid. And I'm just like, beanbag
people,
God.
Pepper sprayed people.
Oh, yeah, it was...
Like, best part of that night was I remember, like, walking by. I was, like, they were just like, you need to get out of here. And I was, like, walking, doing my thing. And there was, like, this plateau beside me that, like, dropped straight off. And somebody threw a water bottle at the cops.
That was Kurt. That's why Kurt got arrested.
No name.
They said he did.
They were like, you did it. And they ran after him. And this cop didn't know it was like this plateau. And he ran fucking right off it and just face planted like 2 feet beside me. Like, smacked his face on the ground so hard.
Yeah,
I heard that. Like, I was the one.
I would have felt bad for the guy. I would have felt bad for the guy, but at the same time, I knew that the dude that they were running after, saying that threw the water bottle, wasn't the guy that threw the water bottle. It was just the way he looked and the way he acted was definitely the reason that they were targeting.
Taller than everybody.
They targeted
tall. He had no shirt on.
Straight up, it was like, must be that guy.
Yeah.
Like, think of everybody that got targeted and got arrested and put in the back of that paddy wagon was just a punk rock kid.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it was like, you.
Full minors, like 16, 17 years old, getting beat up and tased and pepper sprayed
by, like, 50-year-old cops.
Yeah.
We were just telling them to fuck off. That was it.
Yeah, just for telling cops to fuck off, you get beat up. Yeah. What a world.
I think what I remember is we were all getting fucking, like,
no fucking place to go.
Corralled down the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Like, they were forcing us into this little channel down the sidewalk, and we were either trying to go to a party or trying to go somewhere.
I think we were just trying
across the road,
leaving, but they were like trying to say, like, everyone go left, and it's like, we don't live left.
We gotta go right.
We don't want to go.
I want to go. It's not even like we don't want to go. It's just like, hey, I live that way. It's like, no, you're going this way, and they funneled everybody in.
There's like hundreds of people all like funneled down the street. Like, of course, people are gonna be getting rowdy and
I remember walking to the fair that night with like 6 people and walked home with 1 other person because the whole crew I showed up with got fucking arrested.
Yeah. That ledge you're talking about, they dragged me into that ledge pretty hard when they were trying to take me down.
Yeah, oh yeah, I watched you. I watched
just
that.
fucking clipped my knees. My knees were fucked for like weeks after that.
There was like 6 people just trying to drag you down.
I remember feeling like it was almost like a zombie apocalypse because we're all walking together, and then there's like you go down, but like we can't like stop and be like, hey, don't tase him in the neck. Because there's all these people and cops like with their like shields and their guns like pushing you forward. So it's just like you get lost behind you. You're like, oh no, Mike's down. Oh no, they got this guy. They got that guy. And we just have to like keep walking and like you try to turn and see what's going on and just being like, oh no, it's like a wave of brutality behind me.
Yeah, that was definitely happening. I remember the cop coming up. It was you. They grabbed a girl. I don't know who it was. It was some girl we were with, and you went up to the cop and kind of just gave him like a fuck off.
I remember that.
And then
I remember as soon as I did that, I'm like, I shouldn't have done that.
And then they got me. Like almost immediately after, because I don't know if I was a part of that too. I was there. I might have had my hand up or out or whatever.
I remember that
time.
He was just like he grabbed some girl and was just like, "You're coming with us. Like you're the instigator." Nope. And it's like, no, not at all. Like we know this person. Like, fuck off. Like, go target those punk kids.
Yeah.
And I'm not RJ. I'm not saying you're responsible for any of that because like I was definitely causing a scene. But I remember that being like the last time I seen you that night.
I remember pushing that guy and thinking like, I probably shouldn't have done that.
Shouldn't have pushed that cop, yeah.
I should not have pushed that cop. But just, again, that, like, wave of people, like, I got, pushed away, or maybe that's when they did, like, turn on you. I have no idea. But I do remember, like, making eye contact, pushing that, and, like, let go of that, like, 14-year-old girl, like, fucking trying to crossface chicken wing some kid. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Pushing this cop and then thinking, like, I shouldn't have done that. And then, like, people, like, battle around you. And then I'm, like, turning the other way. I'm like, okay, I guess I got away with it. On to the
we all kind of got away with it.
I really hate it when people call the police pigs. But,
Fitting in that moment is
police in Georgetown.
But, they deserve respect, too.
Yeah, sure.
Pigs.
Yeah, it's like everybody else in the world.
The good ones. The ones that beat up teenagers.
The ones that abuse their power are fucking dickheads. Right?
Yeah.
I think everyone abuses power.
Not
everybody has the ability to tase people in the neck, though.
Yeah. So, I remember the cop that, like, fell off the ledge that you were talking about. And, like, him, like, falling. Because it's, like, dark out and, like, he just went flat, smacked his chest, smacked his head. I remember his the sound of his walkie-talkie and all that crap breaking. Like he hit the ground hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no,
he went down hard.
Had no idea.
Fuck that guy. He was probably the one stepping on my neck.
Yeah, he was some young little fat guy, and it's this is his big night, and he blew it.
And he ruined
all
it.
his 2 weeks of Sheridan Police Foundation's training out the window. Because he's wearing these dress shoes or whatever the hell they wear. They're not really combat boots. They're weird.
Maybe I'm misremembering, but I remember that guy falling and then it just really sparking the now we have to take another person. Let's run into the crowd and grab somebody else. It was obviously he had embarrassed himself and fucked up, and it was we all laughed at them.
Yeah, I was laughing.
And then it was we all I was right beside him and I fucking pointed and laughed, and then it was they were just you threw that bottle and grabbed some, you know what I mean? It was, I don't know.
When they let me out and they were doing the final, I got to sign all these papers before they released me. It had one section of the paperwork not filled out, and it was what they were going to charge me with.
Right.
Because they didn't know what to fucking charge me with. And I ended up getting cause of disturbance or something like that.
Yeah.
It was something pretty insignificant, but they sat there and they just kind of made fun of me for 20 minutes and debated amongst themselves what they were going to charge me with. And it got to a point where it's if I don't sign these papers and get the fuck out of here now, I'm going back in that cell because I'm going to say something or do something, because they were just poking the bear.
Right.
And I've been beat up. I'm tired. The whole place smelled like shit. I just want to go home. Right. So I'm at the breaking point, and they just poked me for 20, 30 minutes, whatever it was. And they finally filled it out and said, okay, yeah. After they had their debate, and I signed the paper, and the rest is history.
That's actually really shitty, to be honest with you. As you described that to me, I can't help but get like this deep pit of anger, to be honest.
Yeah.
That it's just like they're pretty much trying to bait you into fucking upping your charge at that point because
you would think you're the guy that pushed the cop or something.
What did you fucking arrest me for?
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're going to charge me for.
Yeah. And it's like you're dealing with like morning shift now. It's not the guys that were actually there the night. It's like they don't know which one you are. It's just like one of the 8 or whatever. Yeah. Like they have no idea.
Just that shitty abuse of power.
Yeah.
And, like,
one good thing about that night is Oddworld. That fucking Sean's old band Oddworld played, and they played a bunch of NoFX.
I do.
That was fucking killer.
Yeah.
That was killer.
Frontline Fiesta did our song tonight.
Yeah, Sean's new band, Frontline Fiesta. Go see them. Buy the record.
Soundtracks to our lives.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, Oddworld. Kick ass.
I remember one of the first times I met him saying like, "Oh, I love going to your shows because you play all those like NoFX covers at the end." And he was like, "Yeah, that's cool. What about the Oddworld songs?" So I'm like, "Yeah, they're good too."
They're okay, yeah.
I'm buying the CD, like,
Yeah.
Play off, dude. Like,
I think I still have a copy of that CD somewhere.
I still have a copy of that CD somewhere. Yeah.
Had like a baby on it.
Yeah, or something. I was like, I'm buying the CD. Like, I'm at your merch booth buying the CD, and like, yeah, I come because you play NoFX. He's like, yeah, and what about our originals? I'm like, I'm buying them. Like, come on.
I'm buying the
You're like
CD.
15 years old. Like, chill out.
I don't want to say they're worse, but, no facts, man.
Pretty bad. No Tragically Hip, am I right?
Tragically Hip.
Oh, don't even start that this week.
So have any of you guys ever committed murder?
Wait a second.
Committed one? Got away with one? Questioned?
I was gonna say,
I don't know.
I was slightly involved in one. Not involved, but when I was in
Ireland?
In Ireland earlier this year. So I landed in Ireland on New Year's Eve. And this is my, like, hello, welcome to Ireland weekend. I get there on New Year's Eve. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is cool. New Year's Eve, Ireland. I move into the house with the couple I'm going to stay with, and they already had plans for New Year's, and you could come with us, but we already have tickets to the sing and it's sold out, so like we hate to be shitty hosts, but you're on your own. And I'm like, no, man, like I moved here with like not expecting to be, just invited to your New Year's plans. Like I'll find my own way. He's like, okay, cool. And he like tells me like, here's this pub and this pub, like one of those will be cool. So this has nothing to do with the murder. I'm just setting the scene.
Yeah,
I think I told you guys
you were trying to get laid.
So I go out that night to New Year's Eve.
Had nowhere to get laid.
And I literally get there like this is happening, like I'm arriving late. So it's already like 11:45. Like I show up, go inside, it's the countdown, blah blah blah. And like right after the countdown, I see this like young dude punch a girl in the face because she like kissed some other guy, I guess, before. He thought it was his right to be kissed. I have no idea. But that's my like, what? Like I just saw this guy like walk over and there's like a couple kissing. And he goes over and separates them and leans back and just decks the girl. I'm
decks
like, what?
The lady, wow.
What? Like blown away. And then I'm like, whoa. And I like kind of go over like, and then like his friend gets in the way. He's like, yo, buddy, who are you? I'm like, man, he just like decked that girl. And they're like, where are you from? Like right away. Like, where are you from? Like you don't have an accent. Or I guess I have an accent. It's just not their accent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm here from Canada. I just arrived. And he's like, why did you come here? I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, get out of here, man. This is not a good place. I'm like, I can see that. I'm out of here. Like, I don't remember what bar that was, but it's like, yeah, I'm out of here. I think I walked into the wrong one. Mm-hmm. So then it's like the next morning, I tell the like house, like the people I'm living with, like, oh, this happened. And like, oh my God, like, don't, let that taint your arrival to Ireland. Like, that's not normal. I'm like, okay, but like the guy at the bar said that was normal and I should get out of there.
This is the place. This is the place you go if you want to punch a woman.
Yeah, like you guys are saying this is not normal, but I watched that and immediately after one of his friends told me that was normal and I should get out of here because I'm not from around here.
Jesus.
But okay. So then it's like January 2nd. I'm supposed to like go to this work placement deal where I'm supposed to be. and I get up at like 9, and they call me and they're like, we said to come in today at 10, but it's like January 2nd. We're all really behind. We don't really know what you're going to do yet. So why don't you like take the day off and come in tomorrow and start fresh? And I was like, okay, I have no problem. But now it's like 9 in the morning, and like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm already up. I showered. I had a coffee. So I'm like, I guess I'll just like go for a run. Like, I'll just like, do a lap of the town, kind of see what's up. So I like head out of the like, down the block, turn left. And as I'm like running down the street, I see this like homeless guy like chilling on the driveway, just sitting on the ground. And as I'm getting closer, I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, homeless people in residential areas. Okay, Ireland. Like, that's not normal either. And I'm getting
all closer, encompassing.
Getting closer, and I'm realizing like this guy's like pretty young. He's like 20. He kind of looks like what do you call them? The like skunk punk guys.
Oh yeah.
What do you call
crust punk?
Crust punks. He looks like a crust punk, but he's not. He's just like, it's kind of raining. It's Ireland, so he's just like wet, sitting there. Looks really bummed out. Yeah. And I'm thinking like, oh, because like the driveway he's in front of has like this little gate. Like you have to like put in a key code to open the door and you can go in the driveway. Like, oh, he must have like forgot his keys or something like on in like a 2-day bender. So I start to slow down, and then I'm like, nah, fuck him. He's on his own. And I like pick up my speed and I just run past him. And then think nothing of it, do my lap around the town. And then the next morning, when I get up to actually go to work for the first time, this time, I go the same route, same time of day, but now like the whole like street is like blocked off with like not caution tape or anything like that, just like cruisers, like, like chaotically just parked everywhere, and all the sirens are going. I'm like, I don't know what's up with that. So I don't know my way around this town or anything. Like, I just got here, so I have to, I guess, like Google map, like how else can I get to this? I have to go down the street. So I'm like on my map.
Yeah, you need a detour.
Yeah, and like someone comes up and they're like crying and they're like, what's going on? Like, oh my God, this has never happens here. I'm like, what's happening here? And they're like, oh, a murder. Like someone just got stabbed. Murder. And I was like, oh, like crazy. Like it's just happened like 20 minutes ago, because there's still like cars like screeching up. I'm thinking, oh, that is right on my route. That's pretty wild. Whatever. I go around, get to work, and they're telling me the story, and it's like, oh, there's been this like alleged like some guy's on a rampage, like he like stabbed this guy, he fought another guy, and they're like chasing him through town, and they're like, he's like this like 20-year-old like homeless guy. And I'm like, dude, like that was exactly where I was the day before. Like, it's that guy. So I have to like call into the police station and be like, I know who that guy is. Like, I can, describe him, because I like was as close to this computer screen away from him. And then they like come and pick me up and take me downtown, and it was so cool, because this like really unassuming like Irish police station is just like, oh, it's like this was built in like 1604 or some nonsense. And you walk in the door, and then it just like turns into a Mission Impossible movie. Like, it's all like vacuum doors, and it goes on forever, and like all these like winding, it's like, and you put like your thumb on the wall, and it's like super high tech
passcode like, to get in here,
making best friends with this cop. I'm like, whoa, this is like super high tech, like what's going on? And he's like, oh, this is like, because we're just north of Dublin, like this is a big like anti-terrorism spot because of like the old like Irish NRA wars and stuff with Northern Ireland. This was like a hub. Wow. So this is like a huge command center. I'm like, whoa. So then I was there for like 3 hours, telling the same story over and over again, describing it, blah, blah, blah. And then it eventually like comes out that this like random, I think he was from the north or something. I don't really remember. But he just stabbed some random guy on the street that was like walked past him. Like, he had been sitting there, he had some mental illness, and he just like got up and like shanked this dude in the back a bunch of times. It was like
holy shit,
an exchange student or something. Like, he was like some other like 20-year-old. Like, he just got up and shanked him a bunch of times, killed him for no reason. And that like scared the hell out of me, because I'm thinking like the day before I almost slowed down and stopped to help him. And then I thought, nah, and I kept running. So then I'm like, okay, the moral of the story is do not help anybody
Never
because they
help
might just
anybody.
stab you. Like, I wonder, like, because they're like the police's side of it was like, oh, he just randomly stabbed this guy. But maybe this other guy was like a lot nicer.
Maybe he was provoked or something.
And stopped and asked him a question and like, hey. And that kind of thing might, like, someone that's going through a mental issue might get really, provoked and aggressive. Like, what do you mean? Who am I? Like, what am I doing here? You need help. Stop.
That's wild, man.
It was wild. Like,
there was this one.
And then I get home from like work that day. And the couple is like, did you hear about the stabbing? Like, did I hear about the stabbing?
I was right next to it
all day.
Jeez, man. Yeah, close call.
It wasn't a close call. It was just that, like, serendipitous, like, the day before might have been the day. Maybe it was, like, 2 days. Like, at some point, like, this kid was going to snap and stab somebody. So it was, like, close that, like, I had, like, first-hand contact with this guy, thought nothing of it, but did, I guess, think enough that as I was approaching, like, this scene looks really weird. Oh, and the other thing that, like, tripped me that I'm not helping this guy is because as I was approaching, I'm thinking, like, oh, maybe he, like, lost his key or whatever and he can't get into the driveway. And then as I'm getting closer, I'm realizing this driveway wall is, like, 3 feet high. So, like, he could easily just walk over it. Like, this isn't his house. He's just, like, hanging out. Yeah. Like, this is, like, there's too many, like, weird things that, like, not helping.
But that was all in a split second of you running past where you just, like, had to make that assessment. You know, it could have went any other way.
Yeah, like, 4 houses notice. Like, I'm just, like, approaching, starting to slow down. And I'm like, no, this doesn't feel right. Not helping. Keep going.
Well, maybe not necessarily a close call, but close enough.
That's like, the closest I think that I've come to, like, a murderer. Like,
or being murdered.
Like,
it
could have easily been, you know, even the next morning. Like, if I left work 20 minutes earlier or something, like, that was on the route, I would have passed him again. Wild.
Fuck, we sound so Canadian. That's the closest you've been to a murder.
That's the closest I've been.
You know? I know. Well, I thought I was getting shot at one time walking through Toronto. Like, and in hindsight, we're in the business section of Toronto, walking, me and a friend going to a show.
Yeah.
And we just walked through this back alley and heard these gunshots. So we dropped down and, like, looking around, didn't see anybody. I'm like, what the fuck? So, like, got back up, like, or tucked against the wall or whatever it was. And we got back up and we're just like, fuck, let's get the fuck out of this alley. Yeah. And as we're walking, it was like, cut, hold it, cut. And we just walked right through the middle of a film set, right? Like, they were, and it was like what was that movie? It was with Mos Def. Anyways, it's like some fucking shoot 'em up, you know, action movie.
I don't know any Mos Def movies.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't know he was not a lead or anything, but I just remember looking it up later and being like, that's that fucking movie set that I walked into and thought I was going to get murdered.
Did you watch the movie? Maybe they left you in. Some scallions in the back alley.
I did watch the movie. No, we didn't get left in, no. But I mean, like, a little bit of pee, right? In that moment, just a little bit of pee.
Yeah.
Like, the gunshot sounded like it was right behind your fucking head. So I don't know how they didn't see us. Like, there was no red tape. There was no one hanging out at that entrance of the alley, and we just, like, strolled right in.
Maybe they just, like, looked at that alley, and they're like, there's no way anyone's walking down this alley in the middle of the night.
Yeah, meanwhile, we're drinking.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, stay off the street.
Yeah. Going to shows in Toronto was all about back roads.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta hit those back alleys, baby.
That's where the action is.
Gotta hit those back roads, stay off the grid.
Yeah. So what do you got, Rue? You said you had a story about a murder.
Yeah, what are you weighing in on?
Something you were involved in, or?
Oh, I don't know.
Something you're planning?
Well, there was this man named O.J. Simpson.
Oh yeah, the juice.
The juice.
No, I got nothing. I got no particular stories. Yeah, the juice. Did you guys see that interview that the juice gave to that woman about the time where he talked about how, like, if hypothetically he had killed his?
I feel like I've seen some of that. That was creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty fucked up.
Super.
Yeah. It was pretty wild how quickly a man can go from being like, it's hypothetical, to just like, I remember when this happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my god, like you're reliving this. It's fucked.
He went through a lot of like, maybe this happened to like, maybe I remember this. It's like, maybe you remember, or maybe you imagined. Yeah. Like I could imagine like she, answered the door with a knife in her hand, and I remember like, yo, like you got to get that knife in her. And it's like, wait, what? You're mixing up this fantasy and a memory and third person.
Oh, yeah,
it's a disaster.
Yeah, well, he spent so many years lying, like potentially, allegedly he didn't do it, but some people think he did, right? Like, I mean, court system says he didn't do it, but you spend, exactly. You spend so many years lying or potentially lying about these things. I feel like it probably would get like mixed up into reality, right? You would kind of lose that a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
Well, I think he would know if he did it or not. But I know what you mean. Yeah, oftentimes, like I tell stories and I like telling stories, but like you really have to like stop and think. Like, am I telling the memory, or am I like repeating the story? Because last time I told the story, like it got a good reaction, like that.
Totally.
Irish murder. It's like, is that actually the way it happened, or is that the way like I tell the story? Mm-hmm. And the more times I tell the story, like how do those like edges get massaged to?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. To elicit that response or something.
Yeah. Or you just don't even realize it because you keep saying the same story over and over again.
Thing.
Instead of it being like, oh, I was there the day before. Like maybe one time I tell the story, it's like, oh, it was the same day. Like later that day I went back and there was a murder. Like that kind of thing happens over time that you actually forget. Like, oh, no, it wasn't the same day. It was the day before. But it's still close and scary. But it's a better story if it was like, and then 20 minutes later he stabbed somebody.
Yeah.
Like that's a better story, but.
Or like Jean-Benet Ramsey. Do you remember Jean-Benet Ramsey?
Of course.
Dude, the Zodiac ties into that. Ties right into it.
Like, is it time for the Zodiac story?
Go on with your Benet Ramsey thing, and I'll pepper it in.
The Benet Ramsey story. Like, I watched this program not too long ago on the TV about how they think that the older brother Burke was killed Jean-Benet Ramsey because the one key piece of evidence that I picked up on that I thought was like, how do you dispute this, was basically the story was that the family had gone out for dinner on Christmas Eve with another family, went and did their dinner junk, came home, and when they were getting ready for bed, little Burke liked to have, I believe it was, I think it's pineapple. No, it was milk and pineapple.
Ew.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that was
he did it. He totally did it.
But so there was milk and pineapple, and they basically when they found her body and did the autopsy and opened her up, she had a piece of undigested pineapple in her stomach. Shut up, Herming. I'm gonna kick her out. But so basically saying that like the food that she had eaten at the dinner had been digested, but they found this piece of pineapple in her stomach, and she died before she could digest it.
Oh.
And they found fingerprints on the bowl and the spoon and the glass of milk that he was drinking that were his kind of thing. So like the speculation was that she, being a little shithead, went up and like grabbed a piece of pineapple and ate it, and then he struck her in the head with something.
Right.
Just as like like brother sisters do. Like Mike, I'm sure you beat up your sister more than once.
I put her in a figure 4 leg lock. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, fucking know you did. RJ beat me up.
I remember
once. Like when I got out of line, it happens. It's just like adolescence. But I guess like the speculation was that he hit her with this like cop flashlight, those big mamma jammas with like batteries that are like fucking 8 pounds each in them.
Yeah,
the old mag light.
Yeah, and they think like that was like the explanation, was that he hit her in the head with that, and
the parents just like covered it up.
Yeah, because they found it, and it was like, in that instance, you're basically losing 2 children. right?
Yeah,
like,
but not really. If he's like 4, like they're not going to do anything.
No, but that was actually what it kind of ended up being, that in Colorado they can't charge children under the age of 10 with murder.
Yeah.
So I think they kind of knew this from the beginning.
Yeah.
And it was like, are we ruining this kid's life, or are we just, gonna blame it on terrorism? Because, like drag the parents through the dirt. I think they dragged the parents through the dirt because they thought it was them, and then found out that
because it was like clearly
a
not a friggin' kidnapping, and they returned the body in the middle of the night with everyone there.
Yeah.
When everybody in the home,
like obviously that story made no sense.
There was a cover up, and that was
she was found in the basement or something, right? Of the house,
in some room that they already had searched.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm getting a knock on my door.
Forget it.
I'm not wearing pants though.
Yeah, don't go. Just don't get it. It's probably fucking little Burke with his milk and his pineapple.
He's coming for me.
I heard you talking about it.
Ooh.
But I mean, like the whole, like this guy. Okay, so this guy John Cameron, who's an author, and he used to be a what did he say? Parole board analyst. Okay. So he would be the guy that the parole board would kind of contract him to speak with these people to see if they were fit for rehabilitation or to like enter, the working world again. Go like whether they are eligible for parole. Like these, like I think it spanned like it was like everything from like a weed charge to a fucking murderer, right? Like so he sat down, conducted interviews with these people, and gave the parole board kind of his recommendation whether they should be or could be let out, or whether they, whether he thinks they should be, kept in that system, right? And so this guy, John Cameron, actually heard most of this on that Tinfoil Hat podcast with Sam Tripoli and that Ryan fella.
Yep.
And I think Theo Vaughn was on that episode too, and they had this guy call in, and basically he was talking with this guy, Edward Wayne Edwards.
Good name.
And, right. And he suspects, his theory is that he is the Zodiac killer, and he's responsible for upwards of 500 murders.
Right.
And the guy confessed to a bunch of them and had details about a bunch of them that pretty much put him right there smack in the middle. Like, there's no way he could know this or that,
right?
Without being a participant. So, like as far back as like all the Lovers Lane killings in the 50s, where they walk up and fucking execute, people in their car, like teenagers and shit, or people being, people cheating and stuff like that. So yeah, like this guy John Cameron's pretty sure, like he's sure that this guy Edward Wayne Edwards is responsible for all the killings associated with the Zodiac, and some outside of that too. Like it even goes as far as he thinks that he killed that Teresa girl in that Making a Murderer that Stephen Avery is accused of currently, I think, in jail for.
Yeah.
But because he was on like the search party, like he got himself with fake credentials, got himself on the search party.
The Forrest Gump of murders. He's just
totally the Forrest Gump of murderers, yeah. But like, his legacy, quote unquote, this guy's theory, his legacy spans like 60 years, right? Like well into the guy's, 80s or whenever the hell he died. When he was in his 80s. But like, apparently he was responsible for some of the, the most horrific and like headline worthy murders of the last 60 years. He traveled with his family for a lot of them under assumed identities, like, phony identities, had all these phony credentials, was like an FBI informant for his own murders, like potentially, like that's the theory.
Okay.
Is that he informed the FBI, so he set people up, like he would kill people but frame other people in the process.
Right.
And he would act as an FBI informant,
right?
Like, kind of pushing them where he wanted them to go, right? Like he had already framed these people, so he had kind of like the inside scoop on, I'm going to push the feds into thinking this person. Here's some
It's
evidence.
a pretty good way to get away with murder is to just
totally
make the question of whodunit go away. They stop looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like he was saying that with that Stephen Avery stuff, like, the car wasn't in the compound or wasn't in the junkyard, originally, and somehow it was placed there overnight, and that dude was actually the dude, like this Edward Wayne Edwards, under some other assumed identity, was who led the search party to the car.
Yeah.
There wasn't the bones in the fireplace or whatever it was, but 2 days later, there's Teresa's bones.
Yeah.
In this, so he was on the front lines of the search party, able to plant the evidence, and I don't know. I wish I knew a little bit more about it because I'm only pretty much an expert, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, not a complete.
But I think it was and there was other things, like they found her ring in the house and stuff, but there's no DNA, there was no blood, there was no telltale signs that she was murdered in the house. But there was all these things kind of they're in the house, they check the house, and then a couple days later they happen to find a piece of evidence that links Stephen to the death, on the second and third look at the house, but this guy's been there the whole time. So I don't know, I just find it's an interesting story, this Edward Wayne Edwards guy. I'm going to look more into it. He wrote a book in the 70s kind of confessing to some murders that I don't know whether he got let off of them or if he used, again, a assumed identity, but it was his book. And in the Zodiac puzzles, I guess they were solved some years ago, not too long ago, within the last decade. They decoded some of that hieroglyphic shit, and it says his name in it.
Weird.
And there's just all these weird things associated with that guy, and the possibility that he was caught up in 60 years of murder. And somehow, I don't really know how, I'll have to look into it further, but somehow connected with the John Benet Ramsey murder, and potentially.
Yeah. See, now it's getting a little out of control.
And I think it gets a little squirrely with the assumed identity, they go to and he had, because it's not they knew Eddie Edwards was at Stephen Avery's farm, but there was Bruce Dickinson was there.
Yeah.
And that was actually him under an assumed identity, and it's says who?
The creepy thing is there's a video of, and this was on that podcast too, they talk about, there's a video of them in a bunch of lawyers talking outside the courthouse, and fucking Edward Wayne Edwards is in the background of that video.
That's creepy.
It's clearly him.
Yeah.
And there's another murder. There was another murder some other time, and they did a documentary on it, and you can see him in that documentary as well, kind of hanging in the background.
I'm very much the believer that both O.J. Simpson and Stephen Avery killed the people they were accused of killing. I really feel that, and I also feel that the police at the time also assumed that they had committed their murders, but didn't have the evidence to actually go through with it.
Right.
So they then in turn planted evidence.
Yeah.
That's one of the the most controversial theories, right?
Right. It's hey, OJ did that shit, but we don't really have any evidence,
not enough
because
evidence.
As soon as it was done, he fucking picked up and went to Chicago, I think. He left, and they had to call him and be the next day and be yo, your wife's dead and you're the prime suspect. You have to come back here. You know what I mean? And I'm sure they planted the glove. I'm sure,
Yeah.
And it's same with Stephen Avery with the key. The key was definitely planted. We all know that. There's no way it wasn't.
Yeah.
The one thing with the Stephen Avery case that always blew my mind in that show was there was the one dude, I think his name was Locke, one of the cops that searched his house and found the key. If you watch the show, but at the end of it, when he's on trial for the second murder, he's getting walked into trial by that same cop.
Totally.
That it's how is this not a conflict of interest?
Conflict of interest,
Why is this case not fucking 6 counties away from here?
Yeah.
Where he's not, like, the guy's going to walk him into court and then they're going to call him up to the stand.
Yeah.
You know, like, that was the shittiness with that. And, you know, and to elaborate on this, the second part of all this is, if you love somebody, never, ever take an insurance policy out on
number one suspect.
Yeah, because you look guilty as fuck.
Guilty as fuck. And you want to know the weird thing? Like, the 3 of us, we all know that if you have an insurance policy out on the one that you love and your loved one ends up dead, you are the one that they're fucking coming after. Why? Because you're owed all this money, right? Like, that's the reason why. So then why is it so outlandish to also think, though, that, you know, the Bauer County Police Department wasn't out for Stephen Avery? Why?
Because they fucked up 18 years.
No, and they owed him.
They owed him money.
Millions. Maybe not millions, but thousands.
It was millions.
I think
it was millions.
Because he was in jail like 18 years or something. I think they gave him $1 million a year.
If my wife falls down the stairs, cracks her fucking head open, and I go to jail because I have a fucking insurance policy out for them, because that's a motive, because I'm going to get that money, how is that not a motive when it goes the other way on the state? That, you know, like, and maybe Stephen Avery played that. Like, I'm not doubting that, you know, like, but it
like, played that card, you mean?
Yeah, like, hey, they owe me money, I'm going for it, you know? And,
that came up.
Like, you know, and that's the only argument I feel the other way. Like, I guess I'm contradicting myself, but it's like, that's the only argument the other way, where it's like, the motive to put this guy in jail and, like, throw the book at him like they did throughout that whole documentary. Like, that's the reason. Because they, you know, hey, it might cost us fucking $100 million to put this guy away, but it's less than the $300,000, you know, that we're gonna fucking owe him in the long run.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know, right? Like, I don't know. And to build on this more, I don't know. Like, I watched I watch a lot of, like, TV shows, and I have a fucking bias because I don't fucking like the police, and I don't like the Crown, District Attorney, all that nonsense, because I do feel like they all collude, you know? Like, you see it in all of these shows, and I don't know.
It's a hard job, though. Like,
for sure.
It fucking sucks.
I just, like, if you don't think there is a brotherhood where they're not gonna fucking protect one another, you're just naive. Like, it does exist, it does happen, like, and you have to just cover your ass. You can't be a dick.
There's also social, political reasons for them to kind of cahoot as well, right? Like,
Mike, you said it earlier, and your experience where you sat there and watched, like, 4 different cops just talk about, like, well, what are we going to give this guy? What's the charge we're going to give him? Ooh, it could be this, it could be that, and depending on your response is going to be what they charge you with. You know?
Yeah, essentially, that's how it went,
Yeah, they're wanting you to say, like, oh, yeah, I only pushed the one cop one time, and like, oh yeah, that was you. Fuck yeah, that's
assault.
That's grade 10 assault. That's a big one.
It's coming to light. Like, you see it in the States where, like, you know, like, black people are getting shot and fucking murdered left and right, and it gets covered up. But now it's kind of coming to light that it's just like, yeah, you know what? Like, this does that. It happens.
It happens a lot.
Happens every single fucking day.
There's a great documentary on Netflix called Flint, I think.
Okay,
oh yeah,
I think it's Flint.
That's good.
It's really good. And it's just about, like, the police in Flint, because Flint's fucked. Pretty sure it's called Flint.
It is,
yeah.
Have you watched it, Skylar?
I've heard. No, not yet.
Definitely watch it, because it's, like, being recorded in, like, 2016, and it's, like, live. Or not live, but you know how they do it. And as it's going on is, like, every week there's a new, like, police brutality, like, killing, like, an unarmed black guy in America. And that's, like, happening, and they're having lunch and talking about it. Like, all these cops are like, oh, you know, this one, you know, happened. And all the cops, like, right away are just, like, defending the cop. It's like, yeah, but you can't see in the video that he likely had, like, he likely been armed. The video starts, and you don't know what happened right before that. And it's just like, wow. Like, and then in the documentary, like, they show the video of, like, you know, pulled over, and, like, you know, I got my hands up, and the cop just like shooting the guy, and he's in his car, and his like wife is like live streaming it all on Facebook. And the cops are like watching this like in their like lunchroom, and they're just like, yeah, but you don't see what he did like right before that happened. You know what, you know, maybe before the camera turns on, he said something, and it's just like, how can they watch that and still be like, yeah, but
that was justified. Yeah,
that was it was just like they're just like, nope, our team is always right, and it's just like this one, like I can just picture him, got like an old pig of a head on him. And no way are the cops ever at fault. It's always like, but the video starts off and you don't even know what happened. And it's like,
I get both sides of it. Like, I understand, like, if you, as a cop, you walking up on that situation, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. It's you or them. But, like, at the same time, it's like, man, like, it's your job to protect and serve.
Yeah,
I get not that,
like, and there's still, you know, like the bias of like you only see the like, okay, maybe there's like 40,000 interactions. I'm just making up a number, and the 1% go really bad, but now they're all filmed and it's like gonna get on the news and it's like clicky, like internet, whatever.
For sure, I get that.
But I'm more like just watching this show, and this is not like, oh, and that happened once. It's like every episode, this is like happening twice because it's like that last summer was just really bad, or 2 years ago. So it's like this is like a regular thing that happens in the show. Like there's another police shooting, and the cops are always just like, "Hey, maybe we are doing something wrong." It's just like every single time, it's like, "Nope, I don't know what happened before the video turned on."
Like maybe this.
I couldn't see his hands either. Justified in my eyes. It's just like
maybe this is the wrong comparison to make. But when you watch those videos, I feel like shit needs to get changed, you know? Like, as much as it's like, hey, this isn't every single occurrence, but when those occurrences happen, there needs to be dialogue and there needs to be change, you know? It's a jump, but it's like, what about, like, when we watched 9/11 and that all went down? There was change, you know, like that was an extreme case of just like, hey, like terrorism happens all the time.
Yeah.
But like this is an extreme moment that like everybody take a step back and we need to assess how we live our lives and the steps that we take in these moments. And then you click over and you just watch like police, you know, do their thing. Like literally it's just like do their thing, like exercise their authority, and it's like, man, like this, something needs to change here. Like how long does this go on before there needs to be a step back and be like, yo, there's a change here, like, you know, like we need to do something that's
well, I mean, my question is how often in these circumstances where, you know, someone gets shot and there's, you know, speculation that it was just or unjust, you know, from public or within the police force, how often is that investigated? Like, it's not every time. You know, it's not every time. It can't be. Like, they obviously, there's probably some form of investigation, whether it was justified.
Coming, though. I feel like, most of the stories I hear now are like the police officers getting charged. And I do like that, like, body cams are like a thing now. Like every cop pretty much has that on 24. Like they can't turn it off when things go like, oh shit. Dave, get your camera off.
I mean, never mind everyone having 3 cell phones in their pockets too, right? Like that's gonna benefit.
Like that like visibility of this thing, like that will curb, you know, maybe because you've been hearing forever
maybe some of it
that like this has been happening forever and no one does anything about it, but like maybe the last 3 years that it seems like this happens every day. It's like, no, that happened every day for the last 50 years. And now there's a big friggin' cop flashlight shining on it. So it'll take a while for those like horrible behaviors and those bad cops to be cycled out, but I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
As far as moving forward,
I remember there was a story not too long ago in Toronto where it was like a dude got pulled over and like they suspected him to be a heroin dealer, and I think he was. Like I think that's like part of it was like he definitely was a heroin dealer, and they searched his car like twice and found nothing, and then on the third search they found a baggie of heroin in his glove compartment.
Right.
And it definitely, like, the guy straight up was just like, this is bullshit. And either way, it came out that they framed him. Like, they did it on purpose. And again, Stephen Avery, where it's just like, we know that you're doing this. We know you're a perpetrator of this. And, like, we got you. And then they move in and they have nothing. And it's like, fuck, what do we do? Like, what, we've come this far. Well, like, pull out the heroin that we have and put it in his fucking glove compartment. And they did it. And it straight up was like, these cops have then since been arrested. And, like,
wow.
I don't know the rest of the story, but, like, it was a weird, like, the chief of police had to come out and, like, give a big statement where it was just straight up like, yeah, these cops got caught fucking trying to frame this dude.
Playing
like,
devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Is that a bad thing though? Like, I'm just saying, like, he is a heroin dealer. He is.
But it's the line. Where's the fucking line?
That's it. Like, we're just saying that, like, clearly OJ did it and he got off, and Stephen Avery did it and they did it to him, and you're kind of like, yeah, but he fucking murdered somebody. Yeah. So if they're gonna just like toss a key in his room to, like, make that a little bit, like, it's fucking bullshit. But, like, he should not be let out because the cops fucked up. Like, I don't think.
No,
maybe it is though. Maybe that's like the standard has to be there so that cops don't do that all the time.
I'll go the next step and tell you that, like, is addiction a crime?
No.
But so why should, like,
is not being addicted? Feeding that for profit is not the same thing.
No, definitely not.
Definitely not. But, like, maybe the problem is not, like, I don't know. Is heroin the problem? Like,
no.
Well, here's another question for you.
Yeah.
People are addicted to money and greed, and if you're selling heroin to feed that addiction,
that's
if you're saying addiction's not a crime, but you're doing all these things to feed that addiction, your greed. I mean, it's just like, where's the line? Don't even open that door. No, I don't think that's justified at all. You suspect this person did something. You're 100% sure on that side of the fence that they did that thing. No, it's not okay for you to make shit up to corroborate. To fucking
collaborate.
Whatever.
For sure. For sure. I agree. Like, if you're like, so certain,
because clearly the cops were onto this friggin' guy. Yeah, they knew who they're looking for. They, like, pulled him over and they're like, yeah, we got him. And then the car's clean and they're just like, fuck. We, like, played our hand. He knows we're onto him now. Yeah. But it's like, no, you just have to stay on him now for another 3 months. Follow him around.
Yeah.
Like, either he's going to slip up or stop fucking doing drugs. I don't know. But drugs are stupid. Drugs should just be legal. Like, people want to do that, go for it.
Go for it.
Put all that like money that you're using to police drugs into help.
Everybody's got addiction.
Yeah.
I
reform
fucking, I drink coffee. Mike sucks dick.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man, we're live right now. We're live.
But I mean, like, that's just it. Like, it's addiction. Addiction's a motherfucker. That shouldn't be illegal.
Yeah.
If I did suck dick,
for the record,
I wouldn't necessarily be addicted to it, okay?
No, you know what? And, like, God
bless addict without dick.
It's true. It's true.
And dick.
Yeah. Fuck you.
Should we wrap this one up, Mike? Do you have a fucking makey shifty thing this week? What did you call it?
How to make a thing. Yeah. No, I don't, but if you want me to tape a couple things together, we can figure that out.
If you want him.
Quick, I bet.
Your new segment was a one and done.
A one-time segment.
No, I just totally forgot about it. We were at that wedding all weekend and kind of,
Any wedding stories you want to share? How was the bride? Was she glowing?
Oh, she was a babe. Total fox. Yeah. Okay. She came in a horse-drawn carriage in this massive field. Like, honestly, they went all out. They went all out. And it wasn't like some yuppie wedding. It was hillbilly as fuck. Like, it was
cool.
It was rad. Yeah, and it was a great time. 4 days of partying and just being around great people, meeting people in the middle of the backwoods, BC. 18 kilometers off the highway on a bush road, and
the highway of tears.
The highway of tears, yeah. And on like, honestly, that's like, to kind of put into perspective, like that's one of thousands of roads where you could get lost on very easily, or in some cases dump a body if that was kind of your thing. Like if you loved doing that, you could do it. But no, it was a great time, and I do got one story.
Purpose road.
I wasn't present for this, but I guess the night before I showed up, a bunch of the guys from out of town decided to do a bunch of acid, which is cool. It's a fun time. We've all been there. But one of the guys, again, from out of town,
I've never done acid. I'm never gonna just throw this out there. I've never done acid.
It's fucking fantastic. Right place, right time. But so, guy, unfamiliar with the area, never been to BC, especially never been where we were in the middle of fucking nowhere in this clearing. But I guess they took a bunch of acid, and he somehow moseyed off from the crowd and the group and ended up in the neighbor's field. Oh, I guess this was at their house. So I ended up in the neighbor's field and spent the entire night roaming around trying to find his way back to the house. I got really fucking lost.
Yeah.
And he remembers sleeping under a log for a little bit. And the guy who owned the property, seen this guy in his field, so came out in his truck. And Buddy, who was on the acid, got all freaked out and started running away from this guy. So now there's like a chase in this field between the guy who's trying to help him and find out what the fuck's going on. Why are you in the middle of my field? And he ended up catching up with them and finding slowly getting the information he needed out of him and found out where he was from and what he was doing there and drove him back to the house the next morning. And he showed up, no shirt, bloody, just like, I don't know what the fuck happened last night. Just went on this trip and ran away and got lost for, the entire evening. And I mean, it's like, there's plenty of bears around.
You're on the highway of tears.
We're on the fucking highway of tears. At that point, you're only a couple kilometers off it.
Yeah, so, it's a bad place to get lost and naked.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. But no common sense, right? He doesn't know where he is, so he can't look at the mountain and be like, "Oh, I need to go here." Or,
right.
Look at at any of the land around him and be like, "It makes sense." I'll go. No, but whatever. He ended up doing a bunch of acid, getting lost in the neighbor's field, and coming back bloody and shirtless. So that was pre-wedding, and then the wedding took a whole nother, spin.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of fucking crazy shit that happened, There's a lot of sluts roaming around and,
We are live, sir.
Yeah, sorry, some really proud women roaming around. Yeah. Really, what do you call it?
Empowered.
Proud, I guess. Proud. Empowered. Some very empowered women,
it's
stinking around.
Women. How about that?
Well, in that setting, it was just women. Yeah. I'm not saying the men weren't empowered or sluts. I'm just saying it was known that there was a few rogue, empowered women kind of on the outskirts of the whole weekend.
Yeah. How'd that work out for you and your fucking band?
We're okay. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good story. Yeah.
Great story, Mike.
It was a great weekend, okay?
I'm glad we're ending this show on that.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, until next week, one more shout out to Frontline Fiesta for the beautiful music. Yeah. See you guys next time.